Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm going to be going over every Galar Pokemon's best card ever. And a few things to get out of the way before we hop in. First of all, this is the second part in the series. Not that you have to have watched the first part or anything to watch this one, but after this one, I'd recommend checking that one out. And I will hopefully be making the whole series. However, it is a lot of work and will become more work as we go back in time because there's more cards to look at, and I'm less familiar with them as well. So I will make the next one when this one gets 150 likes. So I'd really appreciate it if you like the video. Additionally, with the Pokemon, obviously it's the Galar Pokemon, but there's a few things that are like caveats to that. First of all, Galarian forms like Galarian Zigzagoon would be, I think Zigzagoon's Gen 2. I actually don't know, but that would be not here. And then something like the Hisuian Pokemon are actually going to be here. I'm going by Pokédex number. There's a few other things that we'll talk about as we get into it. Best card is best card in standard format. That matters for like I think one card. It's not a big deal. Based on other formats, it's generally the same good cards. And also on top of that, in terms of previous evolutions, the criteria is a little sketchier. Obviously, with final evolutions, it's just like kind of what's the best. But previous evolutions, it's a little weird because generally good previous evolution kind of depends on what the final evolution does. But now this is the first generation where we were two generations in. So some cards like there's a Grookey in like in the Sword and Shield era, and there's a Grookey in the Scarlet and Violet era. So there's a little bit of power creep, though there's not that much. So just comparing stats is pretty fair. But then on top of that, it also kind of depends on what the final evolution is, which makes the previous evolution more played, but not necessarily better. So there will be some cards that see less play than others that are still on this list because they're better, but their final evolutions are not better. So just wanted to get that out of the way. It's a little weird, but also it doesn't really matter that much for those cards. You'll see. But let's just hop right into the first Pokemon here, which is Grookey. Grookey's best card here is from Sword and Shield, and yeah, nothing spectacular here. Of course, starting with some pretty boring previous evolutions. The best Thwackey that was actually not boring is from Twilight Masquerade here, with its ability Boom Boom Groove, letting you search your deck for any card, putting it into your hand if your active Pokemon has the Festival Lead ability. This card is very strong within the Festival Lead deck. Then the best Rillaboom is this Rillaboom here from Sword and Shield, with its ability Voltage Beat, letting you search your deck for up to 2 Grass Energy once every turn and attach them to one of your Pokemon, which is a very solid energy acceleration Pokemon. The best Scorbunny here is from Sword and Shield, I guess. The best Reboot here is, I guess, also from Sword and Shield, though nothing spectacular, although it can accelerate energy to it. The best Cinderace, though, is pretty good. Well, it's okay here. Cinderace VMAX, which for 2 energy does 30, but does more damage based on the amount of damage it took during your opponent's last turn. And then for 3, it does 170. These stats are okay. It also burns, so it's like 190. Nothing spectacular, but it's okay. The best Sobble here, though, is actually solid with Keep Calling, letting you search your deck for up to 3 Rapid Strike Pokemon and put them onto your bench, or basic Rapid Strike Pokemon and put them onto your bench, not evolutions. This is useful for setting up your other Sobbles and other cards. Then the best Drizzile is actually very strong here with the ability Shady Dealings on play from hand on an evolution. Then you search your deck for a trainer, put it into your hand. It's very similar to Noctowl in Standard and a really cool card, and shares the ability with Inteleon with, again, Shady Dealings. This Pokemon does have an attack 120 for 2 and 20 snipe, but the ability is the main thing here. This searches for 2 trainers, same ability name as the Stage 1, but it's stronger, but of course it's a Stage 2, so you'd play all of these and have a really strong draw engine, but it is on play, so a bit vulnerable to hand disruption, but a really cool card here. Then we have the best Skwovet. This is a really solid previous evolution as well. And this is from Scarlet and Violet. This card has the ability Nest Stash, letting you put your hand on the bottom of your deck and draw 1 card. That's honestly kind of bad, unless you have an ability that lets you draw up to a certain number of cards, like MUEX in Standard or Barrel, or really anything that works like that. Skwovet is really good with that, and it does draw your card as well, and also puts cards at the bottom, so it has some different utility situations, but generally really good synergy with some other cards, notably Barrel. The best Greedent is actually worse than the best Skwovet, but I think the best Greedent is from Fusion Strike here, saying for 2 colors it does 30, which is bad. But if you take a knockout on a basic, you take 2 extra prizes, so theoretically really strong if set up the right way. And you can do 160 for 3 and draw 3, which is, again, not spectacular, but it's okay, I guess. The best Rookidee. Now we're going to get into the first of the Pokemon that is like a trainer's Pokemon or like something like that. This is Hop's Rookidee. I think it's the best Rookidee. It can take advantage of the Hop stuff to actually be okay, I guess. And same thing for Corvisquire. The best Corvisquire, in my opinion, is Hop's Corvisquire because it can synergize with the Hops package to be an okay Pokemon. The best Corviknight, though, is Corviknight VMAX. Also, VMAXs, I didn't say VMAXs are functionally similar to Stage 1s, and they give up 3 prizes. The best one, like Corviknight here, though, is Corviknight VMAX, which has the ability Lustrous Body, which says that it's immune to effects of your opponent's abilities, which is really cool. And your attack here, G-Max Hurricane, for 3 does 240. And it does have Fear Retreat as well, so a really solid Pokemon. Not amazing, but all right. The best blip bug here, I think, is the one from Sword and Shield with Call for Family searching for a basic. The best Dottler, I guess, is Team Rocket's Dottler, letting you look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck and reorder them for 1 colorless, which is okay, I guess. Then the best Orbeetle is Orbeetle VMAX here, which has 310 HP, and its ability, if it's in the active, you can ping all your opponent's Pokemon with 1 damage counter, and also you do for 2 energy, 1 which is grass, you do 50 more for each of your energy attached to your opponent's active, which is alright. Honestly, one of the better cards from the set Vivid Voltage, which was kind of weak. We'll talk about that in some later videos, though. But then we have the best Nickit. This is from Sword and Shield, letting you shuffle your opponent's hand into their deck or on the bottom of their deck, and then they draw 3 cards, which is okay disruption. Could be really good. Most of the time, it's not amazing. The best Thievul, though, is actually pretty cool here from Evolving Skies, which has an on-play ability from hand, saying that each player shuffles their hand, puts it on the bottom of their deck, and then each draws 4 cards. So like Judge or something like that on your ability, which is solid, not amazing, but saw some niche play, but was all right. Then the best Gossifleur here is actually pretty solid as well. So again, as you see, we get more into the series. The previous evolution should hopefully be getting a little bit better because there's more cards to draw from. And Sword and Shield Gossifleur has Call for Family, but this is for 1 colorless energy and gets 3 basic Pokemon, which is actually really solid. Didn't see that much play, specifically competitive play, but was a decent card. The best Eldegoss here was Eldegoss V, which is a basic here from Verbal Clash, and on play from your hand, you get to search your deck, search your discard pile, get a discard, a supporter from your discard, put it into your hand. This is solid, not insane, but pretty good. Probably the best card we've seen in this video so far. I'm not sure, but it's not quite, but it's still very good. And your attack for 2 colors, 50, and shuffle this and all cards attached into your deck, which actually saw play within Control. Apparently, it has Eldegoss on the image with some weird walling loop stuff, which wasn't the main use, but the ability was very strong. The best Wooloo here, I guess, is from Fusion Strike. It's part of the Let's All Rollout deck, which does, for 2 colors, 20 for each your bench Pokemon Let's All Rollout, which is pretty weak, but it's like kind of funny and okay, I guess. And you can also discard special energy from your opponent's active, which is also okay. Again, not amazing, but it's all right. Then the best Dubwool here. This is actually pretty close between this and Dubwool V, but I said it was Hop's Dubwool on play EU Gust. This card is one of the newer cards in the video and hasn't proven itself to be an amazing card in Standard. It's just like okay, but again, you Gust on play and you can attack as well. That's not great, but Gusting on play or Evolution from hand is very solid here. Then the best Chewtle, I think, is this one here from Vivid Voltage, which stops retreating and does 40 for 2. The best Dreadnought, though, I'm pretty sure is the Stellar Crown Dreadnought. I will also say the Chewtles, which have seen most play, have been the ones that have been paired with this Dreadnought, but I don't think they're better than the other Chewtles. So that's why I went with that Chewtle, though it doesn't matter that much, I don't think. There's not a huge difference. But then this Dreadnought here has a really interesting ability, and it's from Stellar Crown, saying that if it would be attacked by and damaged by an attack that does 200 or more damage, it just doesn't take that damage, and it has 140 HP, so your opponent needs to hit that right window. Then for 3 colors, you do 80 or 160 if your opponent's active has damage counts on it, which is all right. The best Yamper here has the ability Ball Search from Battle Styles and on play from hand. You search your discard or get your Pokeball and a Great Ball from your discard into your hand. This has synergy with a certain deck, but ultimately it's like okay for like setup and recovering your ball cards, which are pretty bad. They're not super good cards, but it's okay. Kind of a fun little card here. The best Boltund, though, was Boltund V from Rebel Clash. It has 2 attacks, which are both pretty solid. Electrify, kind of like a weird version of Joltik, but I mean, has more HP. You search your deck for 2 Lightning energies and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like, and Lightning was really good when this came out. And then Bolt Storm from Lightning Colorless does 10 and 30 more for each Lightning attached to all your Pokemon, so it can be a big one-shotting attack theoretically later in the game. This card was very solid with the Pikarom deck, but it was not like the focus, but again, still very solid in it. Then the best Rolycoly, I think, is this one from Battle Styles, which says 10, 30 for 1 and 10 to itself. The best Carkol, I think, is this one from Temporal Forces, which can do 60 for 1 on a coin flip. The best Colossal, though, is Colossal VMAX from Vivid Voltage, which has its first attack, Eruption Shot, which does 40. And then you discard the top card of your deck, and if it's energy, you do 90 more and attach it to this Pokemon, which is the main attack. The second one's 240 for 4, which is, I guess, okay. This has 330 HP as well. I will mention this card was a lot better in Japan in Standard, so this is... I don't know. Didn't really define the criteria of whether or not it's international only or also includes Japan. International is like the areas outside of there's two different formats, so that's what I'm looking at here. So I don't know, it's a little different. Ultimately, though, this is still definitely the best Colossal. Also, it's like pretty good in Expanded, or okay in Expanded, but it is all right in Standard, being able to do solid damage for 1 and accelerate and theoretically power up the second powerful attack. Then the best Appletun here, I think, is the one from Twilight Masquerade, letting you search a deck for any Pokemon, put it into your hand for 1 colorless, which is cool. Then the best Flapple here is from Evolving Skies with Acidic Mucus for 1 colorless, which does 50 feature points Pokemon in play with an ability. And the best Appletun is actually very similar, again, from Evolving Skies with Thick Mucus, doing 70 feature points special energy in play. And so these are both really solid. The Flapple doing damage based on abilities is a little bit stronger because your opponent probably has a lot of those. Appletun is more niche, and these were mostly played within the Zoroark toolbox deck that could have been played in some other decks. They also both have the attack fighting tackle for Grass Fire doing 80 or 160 to a V, which is okay, I guess, but still pretty situational. The best Silicobra here, I think, is Hop Silicobra from Journey Together. Again, just like the Corva, Rookidee and Corvisquire. Yeah, I think those are their names. This card is a Hops card, so it theoretically has synergy with the Hop stuff, which I think is like okay. I don't think it's super good, but also the Hop stack is like kind of weird. I actually have not seen this card seen play. I think it's a little underrated, but it's not that good either. Then the best Sandaconda, though, is Sandaconda VMAX from Chilling Reign, which its first attack does for 1, fighting 60 and 20 spread to all your opponent's Pokemon, which is alright. And then your second attack here, Gmax Cyclone for 2, fighting and a colorless. You do 180 and move your energy around in any way you like, which is like okay. This card actually saw play with Arceus V-Star. A lot of actually different cards saw play with that deck. This one was okay, not amazing, but certainly not a bad card either. Then the best Cramorant. Cramorant's had some really good cards, but I went with Cramorant from Lost Origin, which attacks for free if you have 4 or more cards in the Lost Zone, and was one of the main attackers in that deck. It's the one that was played in pretty much every Lost Zone deck. Though Sableye was played in pretty much every Lost Zone deck as well and was stronger. But then you do 110, again for free. You don't hit weakness, but this Pokemon is, I mean, it's free, so that's really good, and it's really solid damage. Then we have the best Arrokuda from Vivid Voltage here, searching for more Arrokudas. The best Barraskewda, though, is also from Vivid Voltage, and this one does for 1 water, 20 to 1 your opponent's Pokemon, or bench Pokemon for each damage counter on that Pokemon. So essentially it triples the damage. It is a bench sniping attack, though, so it will be stopped by bench barriers, but it's okay. I guess. Not amazing, but it's kind of fun. Then the best Toxel, I went with the Toxel from Fusion Strike, because it can be played with the Fusion Strike package. I mean, it's not super good, but it's like, it's all right. I mean, the Toxels aren't great here. And again, the Fusion Strike package is really strong. Then the best Toxtricity is, I think, Toxtricity VMAX from Rebel Clash here with Gmax Riot for Lightning and Lightning Colorless, doing 160, but doing 240 if your opponent's active as poisons, which there were some ways to do. This card was like okay. I saw a little bit of play, but not that much. Then we have the best Sizzlipede, which I went with this one from Sword and Shield. Honestly, couldn't really decide between them, but also none of them were very good. It can theoretically do infinite damage for 2, though, so that's kind of funny. Then we have the best Centiskorch, which is definitely Centiskorch VMAX from Darkness Ablaze, paired with a supporter Welder. To get lots of energy on it, you could do for 2 colors base. You do 40, but then 40 more for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon, and if you did damage, then you accelerate a fire energy from your discard to this Pokemon to power it up even more in the future. This was one of the first really big VMAXs, fell off pretty quickly with the rotation of Welder, but was really, really impressive when it first came out. And then we have the best Clobberpuss here, I guess, from Sword and Shield, which can paralyze on a coin flip, and the best Grapploct here. This one was also kind of difficult, but I went with the one from Surging Sparks, which for 3 energy does 130, but if it has damage counters on it for 1 energy, it does 130, which is kind of interesting in my opinion. Then the best Sinistea here draws 2, forces each player to draw 2 cards, which is like all right. Then the best Poltegeist is definitely the one from Darkness Ablaze with its ability T-Break, saying that you discard a Mad Party Pokemon from your hand to draw 2, and the Mad Party attack for 2 colorless here does 20 for each Pokemon in your discard with Mad Party. This card is pretty solid. Definitely, or I was going to say definitely better than United Wings. Not sure, but it's pretty similar to United Wings. The Mad Party deck was definitely decent. Poltegeist was very important to it. Then we have the best Hatenna or Hatenna. I don't know. I've never played with this Pokemon before, but you search for a Pokemon, and the best one is from Rebel Glastrier, which is fine. Then we have the best Hatchrim here, which is from Chilling Reign, doing 30 heal, 30 for 1 Psychic. I guess none of these were very good. But the best Hatterene, I think, is Hatterene V from Crown Zenith, which for 3 energy, 1 Psychic, it does 80. Switch this with one of your bench Pokemon as an interesting hit and run attack. So I'll play with Gardevoir. I want to say I saw play with Shadow Rider, but I looked online and couldn't actually find that, so I might just be imagining that. Your first attack also can accelerate energy, but that's kind of bad. But then we have the best Impidimp, which I went with Marnie's Impidimp from Destined Rivals, and also for Morgrem, I went with Marnie's Morgrem from Destined Rivals because the Marnie's package is like pretty solid, I guess. Obviously, Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX is the best Grimmsnarl from Destined Rivals here, which is a very strong card with the ability Punk Up, saying that you can search your deck for up to 5 Darkest Energy and attach them to your Marnie's Pokemon in any way you like, and you probably just power up Shadow Bullet here for 2 Darkest, 180, 30 Snipe. Really strong card. The Impidimp and Morgrem I kind of just put here because they're like part of the best deck. I kind of wanted to go with another one. They're obviously not very impressive on their own, though they're like okay compared to the others, I guess. But Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX is super strong, and also you can search them out with Spikemouth, all 3 of them, or Spikemouth Gym or whatever the stadium is called. The best Obstagoon here. Also, another thing, I don't think I talked about this in the Paldea video, but something like Obstagoon. Apparently, Obstagoon in the video is just called Obstagoon, but in the Pokemon TCG, it's called Galarian Obstagoon, which is interesting. But regardless, it only has the Galarian version. There's no other version. And the best Obstagoon, I went with the one from Sword and Shield. Honestly, this set of cards, there's a bunch of close calls. This one was a little close, but I went with the one here, which on Evolution from hand, you ping one of your opponent's Pokemon 3 times, so you do 30 to them. And then Obstruct for Darkest Colors, 90, and then you Wall Basics when you attack, which is pretty solid. Not insane, but definitely decent and very good against tag team decks. Then the best Berserker is Galarian Berserker from Sword and Shield, which has its ability increasing your metal Pokemon's damage by 20, which is pretty solid. The best Cursola here, I went with Galarian Cursola V. It's not that good. It's here from Champion's Path, maybe the only card from that set because it's a mini set. And if it's in the active, when your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, they put 3 damage counters on it, so it can add up to a little bit of damage on your opponent's Pokemon. Could be really strong against something trying to accelerate a ton of energy from hand, like Baxcalibur, which wasn't in the game with this, but theoretically could be cool there. And then for 2 energy, you do 60, and then 30 spread to your opponent's Pokemon. In any way you like. It could be Snipe. It's not 30 to all of them, but it's 30 to 1 or 20 to 1 or 10 to the other, or 10 to 3 or something like that. I over-explained that, but ultimately this card's okay. I've seen it actually played more than I'd like to admit because it's not that good, but it's okay. The best Sirfetch'd here, though, is Galarian Sirfetch'd V, which is, it was first a promo, or was it first from Vivid Voltage? I don't know, but the regular art here is a promo, and it has the ability Resolute Spear. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the bench to the active, you can move any amount of fighting energy from your other Pokemon to it, and then you do 200 for fighting colorless. Can't attack back-to-back turns, but notably, this was a counter to Eternatus VMAX and other Pokemon that were weak to fighting, which were actually quite a few of them. So this card was a really, really solid tech card. Oh, apparently mostly played in Colossal in Japan. Then the best Mr. Rime card is Galarian Mr. Rime, which has the attack, or has the attack Mad Party. It has an ability, but I've never seen it used. But this card was just discarded for the Mad Party deck, and was good, I guess. I mean, you wouldn't attack with it, but it's good. Then the best Runerigus here is Galarian Runerigus from Rebel Clash. I guess this one was also kind of tight, but Spreading Spite is a really cool attack for 2 colors, which says for each damage counter on Galarian Runerigus, put 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So theoretically, you could have a really strong spread attack. Kind of awkward to set up. You need to do some like weird combo, but it is really fun to use and silly and okay, I guess. Then the best Melkery, I don't know. But this is from Brilliant Stars, and it has the attack lead. Search your deck for a supporter, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck, which is actually a really solid set of attack. Not amazing, but for a previous evolution, it's decent. Then the best Alchemy here is Alchemy VMAX from Champion's Path. Oh, it's also from Champion's Path. So we got another one. In the first attack, Adornment for each of your bench Pokemon. You search your deck for a Psychic Energy and attach it to that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck, which is okay. You'd use it occasionally. Then the better attack here is G-Max Whisk, which has for 2 Psychic. It does 60 times multiplier, where you discard any amount of energy from your Pokemon, 60 for each card discarded in this way. Was notably played with Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX and very strong in that deck as a finishing attacker. Was played by itself as well, but it wasn't so good there. Then the best Phalanx, I think, is the one from Battle Styles. Honestly, there's a bunch that are okay. This is a Rapid Strike card. It does 20 for each of your Rapid Strike Pokemon in play, and it could take decent advantage of the Rapid Strike package, so I went with this one. Then the best Pincurchin. This one I also had trouble with, but this is from Sword and Shield. It has 80 HP, and for 2 lightning, you flip 4 coins. You do 30 for each heads, and if at least 2 are heads, you paralyze your opponent, which is like good. This card's like kind of weird. It's not that good, but I guess it's the best one. Then the best Snom here, I went with the one from Shining Face. This one honestly was like the one that was most played with the previous evolution. Oh, sorry, as a previous evolution to Frosmoth, and it has a Call for Family style attack. But also it was kind of hard for me to decide between the different Snoms, I'm not gonna lie, but I think this is definitely the best one for Frosmoth, and it again gets a basic and it is okay, I guess. Then the best Frosmoth is definitely the one with its ability Ice Dance from Sword and Shield, which says that you can accelerate as much water energy from your hand to your bench water Pokemon as you like during your turn, which is really solid. We see abilities like this on stage 2. This is on stage 1. It has some stipulations, but they're not that bad. It's a really good card. Then the best Stonjourner here. This one I actually had a poll on the channel. It was that close for me. And also shout out to a Common Fossil for helping me out with this a little bit. I think he actually said the other one. But regardless, I went with the Stonjourner VMAX from Sword and Shield. The other one is a single strike one, but ultimately wasn't very good at all on its own right. But this card here has the first attack, Stone Gift. For 1 fighting, you attach a fighting energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. If you do, heal 120 from that. And then you have Max Rockfall for 3 fighting, and so this doing 200 is like okay here, and it's not amazing, but the first stack you can just heal a lot, and then you pair it with a bunch of healing cards. It was like super annoying, but actually pretty solid to have like a stall-based Pokemon, and then eventually sweep with Max Rockfall if your opponent hasn't been able to get going and get damage on your board, and you've been able to run them out of resources. The best Ice Cube. This one was also close between the Fusion Strike one, which saw, I think, a little more play, but wasn't super good. And this one, which is from Evolving Skies with the ability, or with the attack block face, which does 70 for 3, but then its effect says that during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon, which is really useful for walling certain decks. Not as strong as Obstagoon, which we talked about earlier, but still a very strong attack and played in a wide variety of different decks. The best Indeedee here is Indeedee V from Sword and Shield, which its ability says it does once per turn, you heal 20 from your active, and your attack Psychic for Psychic Colorless. Colorless does 10, 60 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active, which is pretty good. Okay, I don't know, we've seen a lot of attacks like this, and they're fine, but the ability is also fine, cool, I guess. It's kind of good. Then we have the best Morpeko, which I went with the Morpeko from Paradox Rift. There's actually a bunch of like solid Morpekos. None of them are really amazing though. But this Morpeko has the ability Hungry Hurry if it's in the active and if it has no energy attached, it has no retreat. I guess it works on the bench, but like it doesn't matter. So it can be used as a pivot, and then its attack for 2 darkness does 70, and you move 2 darkness from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So it was used within the Voring Moon EX deck mainly as a situational attacker, a pivot, and a way to power up your Voring Moon EX in a sense as well. So a really solid, versatile Pokemon, not super strong, but it was decent. Then we have the best Cufant here, which I went with the one from Fusion Strike, which I think has the best stats and is also single strike, so theoretically could take advantage of the single strike stuff, though it's nothing impressive. But then we have the best Caparajah, which isn't crazy, but I think it's the Caparajah EX from Paldea evolved with solid stats, 300 HP on a stage 1 EX, which is really good. And you take 30 less damage from attacks. And then for Metal Melicolis, you do 260 and also 30 to each of your own bench Pokemon, which is like not ideal, but not that bad. Ultimately, this card is okay. I mean, it's a really interesting, solid stats Pokemon. These cards generally don't get talked about too much, but this one is definitely really decent. Then we have the best Dracozolt from Evolving Skies here. It's Dracozolt VMAX with 330 HP. This one's kind of like Stonjourner VMAX. You have 1 attack for 1 energy, doing 60. And if you're hit next turn, you do 120, or you place 12 damage cast on your opponent's active. And then for 4, you could do 200 for Lightning Colors, which could happen, but was like kind of rare. Again, you just kind of sit here and heal, and your opponent would hit into you and hopefully not knock you out, and then eventually you'd win because they'd knock themselves out, and you chip away at them and just win. Then the best Arctozolt here is the one from Darkness Ablaze. It might be the only Arctozolt, I don't remember. But whenever your opponent attached an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. I saw this deck like all the time with the Glaring Crystal V we looked at earlier, which was not a very good deck, but was really annoying. This card, not amazing, but it's okay. The best Dracovish is actually interesting here from Darkness Ablaze. It has its ability, oh, by the way, the past 3 and the next one are all Fossil Evolutions. Figured I mentioned that. But it has the ability Primal Law. If it's in the active, your opponent can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve their Pokemon. They could use some evolution from deck, which I can't think of anything that would do that when it was in standard, but there probably was something. But it was not common, so this was kind of annoying to have to deal with. Theoretically, could auto win as well. You could do 120 for Watercolorless, which was okay. I played the Sex Sum. It wasn't super good, but it's okay. Then the best Arctovish, I think, is Arctovish V from Evolving Skies, which can do 220 for 4. Or 80 for 3 and stomp a V or GX from attacking next turn. Not amazing, but it's okay, I guess. Then the best Duraludon is definitely Duraludon VMAX from Evolving Skies with its ability Skyscraper, saying that you prevent all damage from Pokemon attacks from Pokemon with special energy attached to them, which was a lot of decks at the time, notably VMAX, and also other decks played some special energy. Then Gmax Pulverization does 220 for fighting Metal, and then it also hits through effects on your opponent's Pokemon, and also brought back the Dragon typing, which was kind of cool, I guess. Then the best, no, sorry, it's amazing because then there's 10 types. Subscribe, yeah, I gotta put that plug in. But anyways, then the best Dreepy. This one's like kind of weird because the Dreepy that sees the most play is obviously the Dreepy in Standard right now, which we'll get to in a second as to why that card sees so much play. But it doesn't like really do anything. So I think the best Dreepy is the one from Fusion Strike with Infestation for 1 Psychic, doing 10 and trap your opponent in the active. This saw play actually for itself in Mew VMAX because it is Fusion Strike. And also apparently in Gardevoir, someone played it. It's a cool card, I guess. Then the best Dracoloak is definitely the Dracoloak from Twilight Masquerade with this ability Recon Directive, letting you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one to your hand, the other on the bottom of your deck. A really solid draw ability here, and does 70 for Fire Psychic, which is actually used quite a bit. Not amazing, but it's okay. Then the best Dragapult is, of course, Dragapult EX, pushing aside Dragapult VMAX, and it's from Twilight Masquerade here, doing 70 for 1 colorless, and for Fire Psychic, you do 200 to your opponent's active, which is quite a bit, and then you put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench and any way you like. And this is like really good. It's like the best Pokemon in the game right now, or best main attacker in the game right now, the best deck in the game right now, probably based on like statistics and generally what people think. And yeah, it is very, very good. Then the best Zacian is Zacian V from Sword and Shield. 2 back-to-back insane Pokemon here. Zacian V has the ability Intrepid Sword, saying that you can draw 3 cards and then your turn ends, which is like Rotom V, but better because you can accelerate any metal energy you find there to this Pokemon to power up your Brave Blade attack for 3 metal, doing 230, which is really good. It was one of the best attacking Pokemon in the game for quite a while, paired with some really powerful tag team Pokemon, and honestly, on its own after those rotated as well, it was pretty solid. But this card was very, very good. The best Zamazenta is Zamazenta V, always overshadowed by Zacian V in Standard, but was pretty solid here with its ability Dauntless Shield, walling V maxes, and also for 3 it does 130 and discards a special energy from your opponent's active, which is okay, especially when you are a more tanky Pokemon, specifically with your ability. Then the best Eternatus is Eternatus VMAX, another really strong Pokemon. We're in that section of really great cards now. And Darkness Ablaze Eternatus VMAX has some insane stats here. I actually recently talked about this Pokemon when I was talking about 3 prizes. And its ability says that if all your Pokemon in play are Darkness, you can have 8 bench Pokemon, and you can't put non-Darkness Pokemon into play. And then you want 8 Darkness Pokemon on your bench, because then for Dread and for Darkness Colorless, you do 30 for each Darkness Pokemon in play, trying to hit 270 there to do a ton of damage for only 2 energy on a functionally Stage 1. This is one of the best stats Pokemon we've ever seen. Then the best Kubfu is this one from Chilling Reign, which I think is the only Kubfu. Yeah, we've crashed down here, but we'll be crashing back up, or rising up in just a second. I will say this one accelerates and can do some damage. Then the best Urshifu is Rapid Strike. Urshifu VMAX from Battle Styles with Gale Thrust for 1 fighting, which does 30 or 150 if you switch into the active this turn. Then Gmax Rapid Flow, which was payable for just 2 energy, a Rapid Strike energy, and something else, or 3 energy. It's 3 energy, 2 fighting, and a colorless, and you discard all energy from this Pokemon, and you do 120 to your opponent's Pokemon. A really, really nasty and brutal spread attack that if your opponent didn't have a counter to, it was really bad for you. Then the best Zarude here, I think, is Zarude V. I will say there's a Zarude. I think it's from Chilling Rain. I could be wrong, though. I did not look it up for this video, or don't have it open right now and don't feel like looking it up, but it's good in GLC, and it's like probably better than this. I'm not really sure, but this was better in standard by a little bit. And it has 2 attacks that can stop your opponent from retreating. But for 2 grass, you do 100 with Jungle Rising, and then you may attach up to 2 basic grass energy cards from your hand to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. And then if you did, you heal all damage from the Pokemon you attached the energy to, which is pretty interesting there. The best Regilucky, I also had debates between this one, the other single prizer, and the VMAX, which is like pretty much all of them. But I went with the one from Astral Radiance here with its attack Electromagnetic Sonar for 1 colorless, put a trainer from your discard into your hand, which is a solid attack used in control decks and was pretty good. Then your second attack here, Targeted Bolt for Lightning colorless, does you just cut 2 lightning from it and you do 120 snipe, 20 points bench Pokemon, which is decent. I will say this card was played within the Reggie's deck and eventually was required to be played within the Reggie's deck because the other Regilucky rotated, so that pushed it over the edge for me as to why I included it here. It's a very good card, though. Not insane, but pretty strong. Then the best Regidrago, certainly better than the best Regilucky, Regidrago V-Star. Well, is it? I think it's got to be. It was a top deck for its later time in Standard, actually, not earlier. And so one of the only Pokemon I've seen when I've been playing the Pokemon TCG that was like really bad when it came out, and then, or like kind of bad when it came out, and then really insane by the time it rotated. Regidrago V-Star has the attack Apex Dragon for Grass Fire, saying you copy a Dragon Pokemon and you discard pile's attack and use it as this attack, and also you have the ability Legacy Star to once per game look at the top 7, or just go to the top 7 cards of your deck and then put 2 cards from your discard into your hand, can be the ones you discarded or not. But Apex Dragon, just a really strong attack, really versatile, absurdly broken and expanded right now, paired with all the other tools it has. But even when it was in standard right before it rotated, it was very, very strong. Then the best Glastrier. This one's like kind of controversial. I'll talk about it in a second. But is the Glastrier from Lost Origin, saying that it can stop your opponent's basic from attacking or doing 130 for 3. The best Spectrier here. I actually played this card. Really fun. Pretty bad. 120 for 3 though, and for 1 psychic you do you put 2 damage counters onto your opponent's Pokemon, which is like okay, I guess. But the best Calyrex here is Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, which does for 2 colors, it does 10, 30 more for each your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is okay, I guess. But then Max Lance for 2 water, it does 10, you can discard up to 2 energy from it, and for each card discarded, you do 120 more damage. So a very strong attack there. Not insane, but quite good. I will say Calyrex, like you can look at this card and I think it's, I don't know, I mean, it only says Calyrex in the name, but obviously there's a big horse in the card, which is Glastrier. So this would be the best Glastrier card if you count it in that way. And then in terms of Spectrier, the best Spectrier card would be Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX if you counted that. I'm mostly using the Limitless database, which doesn't count it, but it also doesn't count tag teams and Pokemon Legends, which I will definitely be counting later on in the series. There's some really strong tag teams that are definitely going to make the list. Regardless, Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is the best Calyrex here and a very strong card. Then the best Weird Year card here. Again, this isn't a like Galar Pokemon, but it's here. It's by Pokedex number, so this is where it is. And Weird Year V here from Astral Radiance. When you switch it from the bench to the active, you can move any energy from your other Pokemon to it, kind of like Galar and Sirfetch'd, which we covered earlier. And Psy Shield Bash for 3 colors does 40 for each energy attached to this Pokemon, which was really powerful, notably within Lugia V-Star, but was also playable in some other decks. Right. I promise it was. Oh, yeah, in Dialga Matang and Gardevoir. Yeah, you can play it in some other things, though, trust me, but it was mostly in Lugia. Then the best Kleavor here is Kleavor from Astral Radiance for 2 colors. You do 10, 30 more future opponent's bench Pokemon. I feel like we just said that. And 150 for fighting colors, and 50 to yourself, which saw play within Zoroark, and also it evolved from Scyther, so it was played with Scizor to add to that deck and add more basics. Then the best Ursaluna card here is definitely Blood Moon Ursaluna EX from Twilight Masquerade. A really amazing Pokemon with the ability Season Skill, which says the Blood Moon attack here costs 1 colorless less for each prize your opponent's taken, and for 5 colorless, but again, it costs less with the ability. Blood Moon does 240 and can attack back-to-back turns. Also has really high HP here with 260 on a 2-prize basic. Then the best Basculegion is the Hisuian Basculegion from Lost Origin with the free attack here. It can do 70 for 1, but you want to do your free attack here, which is 20 for each basic energy into your discard, and you shuffle all those cards back into your deck for some pretty crazy late game recovery with something like Dialga or something else like that. and also some really crazy damage, theoretically. Then the best Sneasler here is Radiant Hisuian Sneasler. Radiant Hisuian Sneasler has the ability Poison Peak, increasing poison damage during Pokemon checkup by 20 on your opponent's poison Pokemon, which is pretty cool. And then Poison Jab for Darkness Colors. Colors 90 in Poison, I guess, could be used. I don't think I've seen it used. Not sure. All the decks has been played in, mostly Cloth, though. But then you have the best Overquill here, which is Hisuian Overquill from Astral Radiance, which also has a free attack here and also is poison, saying that your opponent's active is poisoned and you put 5 damage counters on the Pokemon instead of 1. So kind of cool there. Then the last card in this video is Enamorus, which is best card is Enamorus V from Lost Origin with its ability Guardian of Love. Prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to each of your Psychic Pokemon or any Pokemon with Psychic Energy attached, except Enamorus V. It's okay, used for some counter things, and then your attack here for Psychic Colors, colors 100, attach up to 2 basic energies from your hand, from your discard pile to your bench Pokemon in any way. Like, not gonna lie, I've never read that attack before, I don't think. But overall, tell me what you think of this video down below in the comments, and if I missed any Pokemon, that would be really awkward, and if you think I chose the wrong cards for any Pokemon, ultimately, I care about it. I want to make a final video after I've hopefully done all the parts. Though again, I will make the next one when I hit 150 likes. But I want to make one where I correct myself if I made any mistakes. There are some that are like definitely on the fence there, which I tried to mention here. But again, there are some that are debatable, but ultimately this is, I think, a really fun series, and I hope everyone enjoys it. Also, yeah, this one is like really wearing me out, so sorry that I was kind of all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.